Hey dog parents, you know that famous quote that says, expect the best, but prepare for the worst? Yeah, that is always why I like to keep a pet first aid kit on hand or on paw. You just never know when an emergency is going to strike and you're gonna need something that is gonna take care of cuts or scrapes or wounds or burns or whatever the situation may be. So I have had my pet first aid kit for years and I continue to add to it. So let's go over some of the things that I keep in here and I recommend that you have on hand as well. Let's start with wound care. So if your dog gets a cut, a scrape, or any type of wound, one thing that you definitely want to do is clean it. If you don't have any access to water, they do make antimicrobial sprays that help to clean out your pup's wound. So I always keep this inside the pet first aid kit. Along with cleaning wounds, I always have a baggie on hand filled with cotton balls and also Q-tips. Of course, also for cleaning, I like to have some gauze pads. Usually I have different sizes, some small ones, some large ones, but gauze pads nonetheless are good to have on hand. Now, if you have a larger cut or a larger type of wound that you need to wrap, I always have my flexible bandage. I don't really know what the difference between the human ones and the dog ones are, so I'm not sure if I'm just falling for marketing here, but I always get one that is designed for dogs. To make sure I can cut this, I have a pair of scissors and some medical tape just to secure the wrap. Now, if the dog were to get a smaller wound that maybe doesn't require a full-on wrap, but you would like to just put some level of protection on there, they do make a liquid bandage that is designed specifically for pets. Now, medications. If I have to give my dog any medications, oftentimes I'm given pill form, but if I am given a liquid form for whatever reason, I like to make sure I have oral syringes on hand. I have little dogs, so I have made sure to stock up on little syringes. This one is not opened. Whenever I open them, I get rid of them and then I get a new pack. So I have had ones that I've opened in the past, but this one is my ready to use in case I ever need it. Now, speaking of medications, one medication that I do like to keep inside my pet first aid kit is Benadryl. So I know that if my dog is allergic to something, of course I would call my vet first. I would never give the dog Benadryl before talking to my veterinarian, but I have been instructed to give Benadryl in the past, and I have also consulted with them on what the proper dosage would be. So I would always recommend doing the same, but I do like to keep this on hand, and because I know that my dogs get a half of these pills, I always keep a pill cutter along with the box. Now, speaking of things that you would talk to your veterinarian about, the last time I was at my vet's office, I asked them to give me some extra sample containers. You know what I'm talking about? When they have to go to the bathroom and you bring in either a stool sample or a urine sample. I like to keep these on hand. Reason being, when I go in for my annual visits, and I hope I'm not the only one who sometimes forgets to go back, but oftentimes I'll go in for their annuals, they'll give me the sample bottles, and they'll tell me to go home, wait for your dog to go to the bathroom the next day, go back in, to drop it off, and then you wait for the results. I just oftentimes will bring these home and forget to get the sample and bring them back. And I really want those results. I want to make sure that I am testing their stool and I am testing their urine just to make sure everything is healthy in there. So to avoid an extra trip, when I am at my vet's office, I ask for an extra one and I keep them in the pet first aid kit. So that way, the next time I go back, I avoid a second trip and I make sure I actually do get to go through those tests. If you groom your dog at home, one thing you must have is some styptic powder. So if you're clipping your dog's nails at home and you accidentally clip a little bit too short, you will see that your dog will bleed because you have hit something that's called the quick. It's basically the blood supply that's in your dog's nails and it causes them to bleed and it's very painful, but one thing you want to do is you want to clot the bleeding. So the styptic powder will clot that bleeding and it'll make them stop bleeding. So styptic powder, very important. I never cut my dog's nails without making sure I have this nearby. One thing that I have had in my pet first aid kit for a while, and I haven't had to actually use it until this year, and now I will never go without it, is the tick twister. So my Chihuahua is, I've had dogs my whole life growing up, but as my own dog, my Chihuahua is my first, and he is 9 years old now. And then I also have a poodle who is 7, and I've never found a tick on them before. This year they were in our backyard, they came inside, and I found a tick. I live in the suburbs, I don't know how they got a tick, but they did, they got a tick on them. And I had a mini heart attack, and then I said, self, I have an article on this, go read it, and then go grab the tick twister. So I grabbed the tick twister, and I can attest these things work, and they make the whole process way simpler than I would have imagined it would be. So they have this little insert, there's 2 of them. So if you have a large tick, you use the large one, small tick, you use the small one, but they have this little kind of claw in it. So what you do is, if you find the tick on your dog, you hook the tick, you twist it, and then you pull it out, and it pulls the entire body out, so it removes the mouth parts. When I did it, it did not break between the head and the body, which is really important because you want to make sure you're getting the body out. And they actually have on the back here, so you can see you hook it, you twist it, and then you pull it up, and it removes the tick without squeezing it. It makes sure it removes the mouth parts, and again, small and large ticks you can do with these. Now, one thing I would like to say, because I know every time I share these, I get comments that say, but aren't you not supposed to twist a tick when it's in your dog's body? Absolutely. So if you're removing a tick with tweezers, you don't want to twist. And the big reason is because that can actually snap the body off of the head, and you don't want to leave the head in your dog's skin. These guys though are designed to twist. So with these you do twist, and love them. I always keep them right in here in case I need them. I know I have them. They were a lifesaver for me. Okay, this is not last but not least. Hold on. Before we get to this one, I want to talk about this one right here. So hydrogen peroxide. When I was a little girl, I was probably, I don't know, preteen or something. My childhood dogs had gotten into my mother's purse, and one of them ate a bottle of Advil, which if you have had dogs, you know is a major no-no. You don't want your dogs eating a bottle of Advil. So immediately call, there's a pet poison helpline, you can call them. There is, and I'll put the number actually on the screen. I would recommend putting this number in your phone and saving it in case your dog ever eats something that you think is poisonous. Doesn't have to be a bottle of Advil, it could be anything. And you can call them and they will help step you through things. Or of course, if your veterinarian's office is open, you can call them as well. I believe that's probably what we did. It's many years ago, so I don't really remember. But we did call someone, and what they instructed us to do was to give them some hydrogen peroxide to induce vomiting. So give them a little hydrogen peroxide, and then kind of rock them a bit to help get those bubbles going in their stomach, and then that would induce vomiting. Let me say this. I keep this on hand, but I would never induce vomiting without my vet's go ahead, and I recommend that you do the same. So if you keep something like this on hand, then it's great to have. Again, prepare for the best. Well, expect the best, prepare for the worst. And so if the worst does happen and you need to induce vomiting, call your vet, call the pet poison helpline, get the go ahead first, and then if you really need it, I always keep this on hand. It doesn't fit inside my box, but I keep it with it. And now, last but not least, I keep the cone of shame. Dun, dun, dun. I've had to use this when my dogs have had ear infections to prevent them from scratching. Of course, if they've ever had to undergo a surgery, then it's always good to have a cone. Usually your vet would give you one at that time, but in case something happened at home and you wanted to make sure your dog couldn't reach. For me, again, it's mostly ear infections is mainly the reason why I keep it, but you just never know, right? You never know what's gonna happen. So I always keep a cone on hand. I would love to hear what you keep inside your pet first aid kit. I did share a shortened video like this on my TikTok. I'll put my handle on the screen here if you're not following me. Would love to connect on there. But I did share a short video, and some people also said they do activated charcoal and a couple of other really great natural things that they keep inside of theirs, and I would love to hear what you keep inside of your pet first aid kit as well, because the way that we get better as pet parents is by sharing our knowledge. So this is what I keep in mine. Definitely tell me what you keep in yours in the comment section below. If you like the video, give the video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.